All right, everybody, welcome back. Today I wanted to do a video talking about the pontoon boat that we purchased this year. So we went with a Sylvan 822 Cruise LZ. It's a 2019 model, and it came with a Evinrude 115 pontoon series engine on it, outboard of course. So I did a lot of searching. I have friends that have pontoon boats. I've known a lot of people with pontoon boats. This is the first that I've ever owned. But I started looking into them and doing some research, as I do on everything. And I shopped around a lot. And the two main dealerships that I looked at that we have in Anderson were Lee's Marine and then Strickland Marine. Also check out Captain Dave's as well. But the two main models that interested me that I kept looking at and going back to were the Sylvan at Lee's Marine and then the Crest at Strickland Marine. When I started looking at the model that I did, I looked at several things. I looked for a little while, I looked at tri-tune boats. I looked into getting more power, which I really wanted. It's something I didn't want less than 150 horsepower on it. Because I wanted it to be kind of an all-around thing, that if we wanted to do pull-behinds and floats and skis, whatever, we may want to do for family and friends, then I wanted to be able to do that. So I kind of wanted an all-around pontoon boat. But the biggest thing is I had a budget to go by. So I couldn't break the bank either. So my wife and I talked it over, and after looking at a range of pontoon boats, we decided that we wanted to stay in that $30,000 to $40,000 range. Well, that kind of limited a lot of options. The ones, when I started looking at tri-tune boats with more horsepower, I looked at tri-tune boats that had 200 horse engines, and then I even dropped down to pontoon boats and found a series that had 150 horsepower engine, but they also had other features, bells and whistles, that type of thing. I started crossing that $40,000 mark. Really, to get one with more of the things I wanted built in, it was going to be about $45,000. So what that would have given me was the upgraded engine that would have been a 150 horsepower. This would have still been a pontoon boat. When I started going over to the tri-tune boats, which everybody tells me, is the difference between a Pontiac and a Cadillac. It's just the tri-tunes, they're heavier, the water displacement, everything. They ride better. They do smoother in rough waters. And then usually the total capacity of what they hold will be more, so you can usually take more passengers with you. But anyway, I felt like for my family and my needs that a pontoon would do everything that we needed to do, especially with my kids being the ages that they are. We kind of figured that for now, I really didn't need all the extra horsepower and all the other little features. So we decided to stick between that $30,000 and $40,000 range. So when I started comparing in that range, I really just focused on the Sylvan and the Crest. The Crest, I believe, had a Suzuki engine on it, and it was a 115 as well. They were both about, I think the Crest was 38, and I believe the Sylvan was 37, I believe. Just so you know, if you're looking for a pontoon boat, kind of what you'll expect to pay. So that's really why I'm throwing it out there. Now they have cheaper models. I mean, you can get a model, I think the starting price was maybe like 27 or 8 or something like that if you got a 90 horsepower and a real like base model, a little bit shorter. Mine's the a 22 foot. I think 22 and 23 feet are pretty much your standards. Most of them I looked at were those lengths or sizes. You can get shorter ones. I found one that was I think a 20, and then they have 18s. They have some really small ones and all, but you can get those with a 90 horse and save a lot of money if you just want to get out on the water. The ones I saw had no features to them, they were just plain Jane, but it'd be a boat, to get out in the water. It's one of the things, that we really like to do is just the relaxing rides, and then often we'll take it out and pull up on the island and just kind of, hang out and just be with friends, and, you can take food and beverages out, and kind of have your own little thing going on the island. Or, years ago we used to ride out to islands and camp all night, and I'm hoping that's something maybe I can do with my kids one day. But anyway, back to the topic. Sorry, I get easily distracted. So pontoons, when we were looking at them, I just kept going back to this one. So the Crest, and then the Sylvan at 2 different dealerships. And basically when it was all said and done, the Crest, having the Suzuki engine on it, it was a 4-stroke, and the Evinrude was a 2-stroke. Well, I think Evinrude, I believe, is one of the only manufacturers that has continued to do 2-stroke. But it's supposedly one of the cleanest outboards that's made now. They have all kind of awards, certifications, all that type thing. There's a lot of information out there about them, and I might do a little more research and become a little more knowledgeable myself than what I currently am, and do another video just on that. But basically, it's got its pros and cons. It's one of those things, I don't have to do oil changes and maintenance. The first service is like at 300 hours on the 2-stroke versus the 4-stroke. I think it was like 50 hours or something like that, maybe 100. But it's a lot less maintenance overall, which I just thought would be easier to deal with. When you put oil in it, it's oil injected, so it's still like a fuel injected engine. It's not like an old carbureted type thing, but it's got a little oil reservoir. I think it holds like a gallon. It goes through it very slowly. You don't have to add a lot of oil to it. I had somebody else that I knew with an Evinrude that told me that, they filled it up with that gallon and ran it for like 2 summers before they had to add more to it. Now they're not going out there on the water every day, but I think it, lasts a long time. So far, there's been no smoke or anything behind it. It seems really clean burning. The 115, it lacks a little bit. You always want bigger and better, and I was no exception to that. I wanted more power. The top speed that I reach on this pontoon boat is really about 30 miles an hour. It's not going to get you any kind of crazy speeds. I've been on a lot faster boats, and you might get left behind if you're trying to keep up with some of those guys. But basically, the pontoon that I got is just a family cruiser. It's one that we can load up our family. We might can get a few friends on there as well. My boat holds 9 people, according to the sticker and the Coast Guard regulation, I believe it is. So I mean, it could probably hold 10 really, but to be legal, we would do 9 or less. But that's enough people, and we can get out there and cruise and do what we need to do. I think it's enough power. We bought a tube, and I haven't really tried it yet. We've just haven't gotten there with the baby. It's difficult at times, especially when it's really hot, taking her out. But I want to get to where everybody knows my son's 4, and I want to be able to take him out tubing. And I think the 115 is powerful enough or strong enough to do that. Now, I don't think you're going to be skiing or anything behind it, but I think it'll do what we need it for. Other things about the boat. It had a few options of upgrades. I think it had a gauge package upgrade. It's got a tow bar. It had a couple other just little upgrades to it. It's got plenty of storage to it. I'm doing a video, and attaching to this one of walk around and tour the boat, so you'll get to see everything. Only things I don't like about it: the more money you spend on these pontoon boats, it seems, the thicker gauge you can get the aluminum for the tunes to it. Mine are pretty thin. You tap on them and they'll dent really easily. So that's one con to it. And to be honest, it's not something that I really searched for or looked into when I was looking at the different boats. So it's something that, if you're considering buying a pontoon, check out the thickness of the pontoons. I don't know if the crest was the same way or if they used a thicker grade. I'm assuming that the price point that they all probably use the same type or same gauge of aluminum, but I could be wrong. You know, maybe different brands handle that differently. I know when I looked at the Tri-Toons, after I purchased mine, when I went back and looked at a Tri-Toon again, you know, you can tap on it, it just feels like hard as a rock or solid, which, you know, it'll still dent. It just, you know, would take a lot more. When we beach ours, a lot of times, you know, you can get little dings and when you hit rocks or whatever. And I've already had a windy day where it kind of drifted me into the back of the trailer sideways and got a little ding on the front already. So it's one of those things that's going to happen at some point anyway, but you know, I just look at it, try not to let it bother me. Anyway, other things I don't like about it. At the price point, I understand, but it doesn't have what they call splash shield, I believe it was, where it's kind of like solid aluminum underneath the frame and floor. That was on the next price point. I think the model that I looked at, that was $45. I believe it did have that, but at the price point of mine, I didn't get that. Well, that's, you know, it's water splashing up underneath the pontoon, and you can hear it and feel it like beating against the floor all the time, because all that is treated plywood on the floor. So I can, you know, when waves hit and things like that, I can feel it knocking against the floor. And if you have that splash guard under there, which I've been on boats with it, it's just, you know, it adds to being a smoother ride. I also think it helps protect it better, keeps that wood dry. So even though it's treated, and I believe it's a lifetime warranty, you know, I think you feel a lot better about it having that. Other things, mine came with, it's another main thing that you really want to consider. I don't think they call it power steering, but I think they call it hydraulic assisted steering. That's definitely something that I wish I had and would have gotten. So, you know, take a look at that. That came again, starting out at that $45,000 price point. That was on that model. And the Crest nor the Sylvan that I ended up with, neither of them had it. It's not a deal breaker, and it's not too bad. But I mean, when you spend a lot of time out on the water and you're steering, you know, when you're going faster, it's hard to turn. A lot of times you can do it with one hand, but it takes a lot more effort. I mean, so you usually use two, and it's kind of just a pain at times. I had taken it back to the dealership when I first got it, thinking that was the steering was a little bit too stiff, and they actually went ahead and just replaced the steering cable in it, but it really didn't get any better. So I guess that's kind of, it is what it is, you know. So that's something you want to consider and take a look at. Other than that, you know, I don't have many cons about the boat. The speakers were okay. They didn't really meet my satisfaction, so I changed all that out. I changed the receiver out as well, just to get a little bit more power, a little bit more sound. I added a couple speakers to the back. I definitely say anybody I've been on, like I said, this is my first pontoon. I've had aluminum fishing boats in the past, and one of the worst things in the world is if you get stuck out on the lake just due to a dead battery. So I recommend everybody have a spare battery on board and keep a battery maintainer or trickle charger on them all the time, to make sure they're both charged up before you hit the water. But other than that, you know, I've added those few things to it, and I'm going to do another video where I kind of show you the different things I've done. But in the video that I've tied to this with the walk around the boat, I didn't go in depth about any of that stuff. Other thing about my boat is that it has plenty of cup holders. It has more cup holders than you can have people. I have no idea why they put so many cup holders on it, but they did, and they're everywhere. They are nice because condensation or any spills from them, they all do have drain tubes at the bottom of them that go up under the boat. So that's kind of, I thought it was a neat thing in it. I have seen them before where it didn't have them, where they were sealed, and you'd have to take them out, the little sleeve, and empty them out in a pontoon. So I thought it was nicely done. The top to it, it opens really easily. They said new for this year, it's just like a click in or snap in for the bars when you want to pull it up. So it's really easy to use. I was trying to think of anything else to really mention to everybody. I mean, it's like I said, you get what you pay for. So if you spend more money, you're going to have a lot nicer things on it. But when you want to stick around the price range, you know, that I do or did, then this is a great boat. So it might be something you want to take a look at. They have several of them at all of our boat dealerships here in Anderson. I'm sure wherever you are, you can find similar dealers. Sylvan Marine is what I chose to go with. They have a really good warranty on the system, and I caught it during a time where the outboard manufacturers, they do kind of promotional extended warranties at times. So I got an extended warranty on that, so that was kind of nice, and it was important to me as well, because that's the number one thing you're going to have problems with, is going to be the engine itself. Other than that, I think it's lifetime manufacturer's defect warranty on the floor and the tunes themselves, the aluminum aspects of the boat. And I think the rest of it, you know, it was kind of different warranties for everything. I think it was maybe a 5-year, like, to cover everything else, but you know, take it for what you will. So if you're out shopping for pontoons and you want to keep it in that range, then Sylvan's a good boat, Crest's a good boat. I think really there's so many manufacturers out there, and I don't fault any of them or think any of them are just bad boats. It's just, you know, you need to walk around them and look at them and see what's right for you. And another option you might want to do, they didn't offer it at Strickland, but at Lee's Marine, they offered, before I bought it, to put it in the water for me and let me try it out. You know, I knew kind of what I wanted and knew what I could afford, and so I purchased it without putting it in the water. But I mean, you do have that option apparently, so it might be something that you want to do before buying, because it's a huge investment. But anyway, I'll cut right over to the walk around, and you can kind of see all the ins and outs of my boat. Thanks for watching. Alright everybody, so this is the 2019 Sylvan Mirage 822. It's of course a pontoon boat. We didn't go the tri-toon route, basically for money's sake. This is a little bit more of a, you know, I don't know if you want to call it lower end or economy pontoon, but money wise it just made more sense. I wanted a boat to get us out on the water, but I didn't want to spend a fortune either. So I'll give you kind of a walk around of it. So far, we've just had it this one summer. So far, it has been a great boat. I've enjoyed everything about it, and I have added on some things as well, and I'll go over that in a separate video. Kind of let you see up under it. And that is a Evinrude E-Tech 115, the pontoon series. Of course, on these models, the gas tank is here in the back, located there in the transom. This boat was purchased at Lee's Marine. And there's their little advertisement sticker they put on it. You can see that. with their phone number and all, in case anybody's interested in the Anderson area and wanted to take a look at these. Alright, let's climb up top, take a look. I like the layout of this one. Was one of the main selling points on it. It has plenty of seating. One of the funny characteristics to it is the amount of cup holders that it has. No idea why they put so many cup holders on this. You'll never use all of them. But, so let's look at storage, which it has plenty of. Pretty much under the seats, these are all dry boxes. And there I just have a bunch of life jackets. There's storage actually up under here. And these just snap. It goes all the way back. So there's actually a good bit of room in there. It's the same on this side, and then you have 2 speakers up front. Then I added in my satellite radio and chart plotter. Storage up under here. You kind of have 2 captain's chairs here. Then a side entry point. Also has the little, I'm not going to take time to try to do that out. I've never done it, but it's the pull out like privacy screen. Never had to use it, but it's there if you want it. All right. Gauge package that it came with. And you know that varies by model, but basically have your battery, fuel, speed, RPM, your trim, and then a system check center. Have the radio, and that's been replaced from what it actually came with. It came with a Jensen Marine, which I'm just not a fan of. It didn't have a lot of power, so I replaced it, and I'll do another video of what I've actually replaced on this and talk a little more about it. Kill switch and ignition. Then it actually comes with a table there. I just think it took too much space, so I took that out. And then you have 2 more speakers in the back, so it has 4 interior altogether. Then under all these seats, it's the same as the front. You have space. Now here's one interesting thing that you do want to take note of if you go the route of Evinrude. So that container there is for oil. To my knowledge, Evinrude is the only manufacturer that still does 2-stroke. Now it's 2-stroke oil injected system. It runs clean, it runs really smooth. It's new, so of course I've had no issues with it. You know, it's a 115. It's not a powerhouse or anything, but it gets us around. This boat, top speed that I've had it, I mean, it's pretty much 30 miles an hour. I don't think it's going to get over that, no matter, you know, what a took out or anything. Got a large back deck here you can stand on, and then the other side is storage as well. And then this seat actually lifts up and has storage inside there. The top's very nice. That's the cover that goes on it. And this is really easy to do. One person can do it, you know, it just unzips, you pull it forward, and then those just, the arms just snap into place. Thanks for watching, and please let me know if you have any questions or anything else you'd like to know about it.